They say cash is king. However, we are told not to keep too much cash because cash cannot outpace inflation. What should we do? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Andre. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you are returning, as always, my sincerest gratitude for coming back. Truly hope that we continue to provide stuff that you find interesting. All right, so right off the bat, let me remind you that the following is my point of view. I am not a certified financial planner, professional, anything like that, and I don't have any fancy letters behind my name. Your situation and preferences will probably be very different from mine. You should always make your own choices and obviously consult with a professional if you feel that you need to. All right, so let's dive in. All right, what is the point of cash? That might sound like a silly question with an obvious answer, but hear me out. Is there a point to keeping cash around for some of our assets? Absolutely. At least that's my own point of view. There's a peace of mind that comes from having ready access to cash, especially when something unexpected might come up. So, for example, number one, the absolute number one point is ease of access. Having money invested in the stock or bond market, tied up in CDs, annuities, life insurance policies, all of those types of things does not allow for you to get your hands on cash quickly if you need it for some sort of unforeseen circumstance. Number two, cash allows flexibility in being able to turn on a dime to take advantage of a good deal or an opportunity. You know, hey, something comes up and wow, if I had, my hands on $100 or $1,000 or whatever, I'd be able to take advantage of this really good deal. Cash allows that. Number three, cash also typically has had taxes already paid on it. In such cases, you can use cash to delay needing to take funds out of things like retirement assets, 401ks, IRAs, where that money has not yet been taxed. It's often invested in something, and you can't just readily put your hands on it in a day or two. We want to be able to allow those types of assets to grow, and having cash that we are either living on or existing on, paying our current bills out of, and so on, allows any money in deferred, qualified assets like IRAs and 401ks, etc., to continue to grow. That we can jump on those later. All right, number four, cash allows you to delay taking Social Security. If I retire and I have cash available that I can live on for the first few years, I can put off taking my Social Security benefit, and in so doing, allow that Social Security benefit to continue to grow. If I haven't talked about it on here before, we may do a video on this in the future, but Social Security benefits continue to increase literally month by month from the first time you're able to apply for it at 62 all the way up to 70. So for that 8-year period, literally every month your Social Security benefit increases until you start taking it, and then it's locked in. But at that point, you get their COLA and all that type of stuff, but it would stop growing the way it can continue to grow if you have not yet taken it. All right. All of that said, what does one do if they decide to keep some cash? Where should it be stored? What should you do with it? Here are some suggestions on things to do with any assets that you decide to keep as cash. Number one, put it in a high-yield savings account. There's absolutely no reason to have money in a regular savings account. As far as I'm concerned, it is akin to throwing money away. High-yield savings accounts often pay 6 or 7 times the national average and pay infinitely more than those banks that pay a nominal 0.1 or even in some cases a horrifying 0.01% interest rate. So for example, let me illustrate what I'm talking about here. So for example, let's say you had $50,000 and you put it into an HSA paying 3.5% APR. On an annualized basis, that would generate a little bit more than $1,750 a year in interest. Decent return. Comparatively, that same $50,000 in a regular savings account paying 0.01% APR would generate a whole whopping $50 for having tied up that much money for the entire year. And if you think that I am kidding around, Go and look at some of the big banks, you know, your Wells Fargo's, your Bank of America's, etc. Look at their savings rates, and as of this morning, I looked, literally they have savings rates of 0.01% APR. It's just terrible. Easy Access, though, has some upsides and some downsides. If cash is too easy to get our hands on, it can provide some temptation to spend it on things that we had not planned or budgeted for. Oh, wow, look, I want to get that new car. Look at this great handbag, or these great shoes, or this great, you know, power tool that I wanted to get my hands on, or whatever. You know, if I can just run down to the bank, pull out $50 or $200 or whatever, and so on, it can just whittle away at our savings. So cash has a downside of we've got to be very careful to not just, you know, go wild because we have cash available to us. Number 2, CDs. Typically, they pay a higher interest rate than savings accounts. But very importantly, they lock in that interest rate for a specific period. So if markets go up or down, or if the Fed raises or lowers interest rates, your funds are guaranteed to pay out the interest rate that you agreed to. So if I take out a 1-year CD paying 4%, and the Fed drops the federal funds rate to 3%, doesn't matter. I'm still going to get my 4% because that's what I've contracted to by getting my certificate of deposit. But by the same token, if for some reason interest rates raised, there's the counter side to that, then I'm going to get my 4%. But if rates for some reason had gone up to 5%, I would not get that increased amount. So, good and bad, but absolutely one of the best ways to keep track of what to do with cash, put them into a CDs. Some folks like to do what is called laddering CDs. I'll give you an example of what that means. It is a strategy that people use to kind of plan out how they're going to invest a certain amount of money. So again, with our $50,000 example that we were using, I might take 25% of that and put it in a 3-month CD, and then another 25% and put it in a 6-month CD, and another 25% 9-month CD, and so on. So the reason I am doing that is so that every 3 months I have the ability to know that I'm going to have an infusion of cash, the ending of and maturing of that one CD that was set to go at that 3-month period. So if I put $12,500 in for a 3-month CD and the rest of the 6, 9, 12, etc., I know that in 3 months I'll get that $12,500 back plus whatever interest I have taken that CD out at. So that's something that some folks do to plan their income, but to attempt to lock in the higher rates that are available with CDs, typically over just bare bones savings accounts. Money market account, you'll sometimes say, oh, you should put your money in a money market account. Those have kind of fallen out of favor a little bit because high yield savings accounts are typically paying as much money or even a little bit more than money market accounts. But yes, the idea behind a money market account is that it is paying the market rate, or at least the rate based on market rate. So you should be getting at the higher end of interest availability rather than the low ends of those pittances that they pay on some savings accounts. Now, I wanted to talk about what you should do and what are some great options for what you should do with cash. And I figured, well, you should also do the counter side of that. It says, it is fair to not only visit things about, these are the great things to do, but here's some of the stuff you should absolutely not do with cash. Do not keep but so much cash in your wallet or at home. If you have, you're robbed, you're the victim of a burglary, and so on, that cash goes and it is gone. There's no insurance on it like there would be if it were in a bank. There's no interest being earned on it or anything. If the house were to burn down, for example, that cash just vanishes. So don't keep but so much cash in your wallet or at home. Do not put it in a jar and bury it in the backyard. I know that might sound a little funny, it does to me, but you've heard stories of people doing that. Again, it's not earning any interest. You may forget where it is. Animals might get into it and just, make nests out of it, and all of a sudden all of your money is just, disintegrated and so on. Don't put it in a jar and bury it in the backyard. Don't put it in a safety deposit box. That might seem counterintuitive. A safety deposit box, it's in the bank, it's, should be totally secure. Yes, the problem is it's not working for you. It's not making any interest. So if I put $50,000 in a safety deposit box on, January 1st, on December 31st, it still has $50,000 in it. Whereas, as we looked at before, if I can, put it in to something making 3.5%, on December 31st, I would have 51,750, well, a little more than that because, of the compounding of interest. But I would have, significantly more money than I started with a year before. So don't put your money in a safety deposit box. Also, we hear stories all the time of people who hide money around the house. Hey, I have some money in this book. I have some money in this cookie jar in the kitchen. I have some money in something in the freezer, and so on. Just like the safety deposit box, it's not earning you any interest. That money isn't working for you. And if you don't make note of where all that money is, then you may forget. Some of us, we begin to get more forgetful in our old age. You forget where it is, or God forbid you pass away, and then your heirs come along and they're like, cleaning out your home, and they reach into the refrigerator, pull out a bottle, look in it, and boom, there's $100 that you squirreled away there, and so on. You want to have your money where you can keep track of it, like an account of some kind, where it can be working for you and making you some interest. Some interest is better than no interest, but of course, if you're going to be getting interest on your money, try to get the highest amount of interest that you can. All right. So in the end, we need to decide what to do with our cash. That is, even if you decide to keep any of your assets in cash at all. I previously posted a video on here talking about the 3-bucket strategy, and I'll link that down below, worth checking out here. Cash management is a significant part of your retirement finances. You must do what you are comfortable with, but ultimately you cannot just ignore it. My suggestion is to have some degree of cash available, but once you have that available, what do you decide to do with it? You have to make that decision yourself. I laugh that oftentimes I have, $60 in my wallet, and I may put that money in my wallet at the beginning of March, and I get down to June or July and I still have $60 in my wallet. I don't really use a lot of cash. I'm a big fan, as I've talked about on here before, of credit card usage and so on. It allows me to keep a good record of my finances, and it makes me a few points and so on as well, that I can use for future uses towards whatever it is I might need to do. All right, so I'm curious, what strategies do you use to manage your funds, specifically your cash? What have you considered? And you say, oh, I thought about that, but I didn't do that, or I tried that and it didn't work for me. Please ask the comment down below. Let us know what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, so we can all learn from those collective experiences there. Righty, so that's what I wanted to cover in today's video. As always, I ask that you like, please, if this resonates with you, share if anybody else who might benefit from this content, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, I invite you to do so. We talk about all things retirement on here, and constantly visiting different topics of things for us as aspiring retirees or new retirees, etc. I think I also announced recently that the channel has been monetized. It doesn't make a whole ton of money, but it gives us a little bit, and I've added an additional way for you to support the channel if you feel so inclined by being able to buy me a coffee, which is down in the notes below. All right, that is it. Thank you as always so much, and as always,